Good morning, Tucson, Arizona. Good morning, Pima County. Welcome to the Fresh Start Show on 106 The Groove. We have a guest here with us today, Andrea Cruz from Arizona at Work. We're going to get back to that. I have some announcements to make first. April 12th, Market on the Move. We're going to be out there. It starts earlier this month, so it's going to be from like 7 to 9. I know we're going to have more boxes than we had last month because we sold out last month. So get out there early. It's going to be at Zion City, Santa Cruz campus at Mission and Ajo. We're going to start at 7 a.m. up to 60 pounds of fresh food for $10. Okay, now May 17th is still the tentative date for the clinic, which will be at Goodwill of Southern Arizona, 1941 Silver Lake. So we're hoping that it goes through. We're waiting for confirmation from the courts to be present there because there's not much we can do for you guys if we don't get the courts there. You know, we have attorneys and all of that stuff and resources that we're going to bring out so that we can afford you guys the opportunity to move forward in a way that you don't have to keep looking back over your shoulder. When we start to erase those fines, those fees, expunge your record, restore your rights, seal your record, when you start to get those things done, you start to walk with your shoulders back a little farther and your chin up a little higher so that you know that your past is behind you and you don't have to keep looking in the rear view. So, hey, I'm going to introduce our guest today. And Andrea Cruz is with Arizona at Work. We've been working with Arizona at Work for a number of years now. And you know, I work with Ray out there at the state prison when we do the orientations every Tuesday. And it's just everybody, Kenny at Curiel, and they're at the state prison and they're at the federal prison, which is wonderful. And they're not just a work program. It's not just Arizona at Work. They have training programs. They have guidance programs. It's wonderful. But I'm going to let Andrea come in here and start to explain what it is that Arizona at Work does, what she does, and we're going to shoot it around and talk about because we know a job is really, really important when you get out of there. But if you have no skills, you're going to need to find them somewhere. And you can get the training through Arizona at Work. You can get, you know, the WIOA and all of those things. It's just wonderful with the Work and Innovation Opportunity Act. So please listen up, take notes, and make sure that you pay attention to all of the contact information that Andrea will give you so that you can get online and you can get this information on your own. And if there's paperwork for you to file, you can start filing that paperwork. Andrea, bring it in.
Yeah, so my name's Andrea Cruz. I am a reentry employment counselor for PROUD, Arizona at Work. What I do is I teach classes at FCI, at USP, at Dismiss Halfway House, and at BSS Florence. In the prisons, it's a 12-week program, and at the halfway houses, it's a 6-week program, so it's a little bit more intense at the halfway houses. Now, what's beautiful about the program is once our clients release from incarceration or the halfway house, they connect with myself or my partner, Brian Baker, as the reentry employment counselor. And you guys get that one-on-one counseling, which is beautiful. Now, that's really up to you on how you want to use us, right? Sometimes our clients reach out to us for those basic life navigation skills. How do I navigate through this situation? How do I navigate with connecting with my children or reconnecting with my family? How do I navigate through these interview questions? During class, a client he asked me a question. It was crazy. It was really intense. It was super intense. He pulled me to the side and he was like, Andrea, I need help right now. We went to the other room and this lady was like, tell me about your background and tell me about the crimes that led up to your background.
Oh,
in class.
right.
And so like Brian was teaching and like we're in this other room. So I'm like, okay, put her on mute. He's like, all right. So he put her on mute and I was like, all right, tell her about your background. And then you're gonna tell her about those crimes that led up to your background. But the important part is you're gonna take ownership And you're going to remind her of why she called you,
Right.
what skill sets that you have.
Right.
And so he did. But that background disclosure, it wasn't a 5-minute conversation.
Yeah.
That was 30 seconds to a minute,
Yeah.
if that.
Yeah.
So, needless to say, you know, she's like, okay, well, I'll call you back. And she did. After a week, this gentleman got a job.
Wow.
So it's those on-site,
Yeah.
quick thinking kind of conversations. So,
And it's the in person. I mean, when
Yeah.
they get to meet, you know, when I first got out, it was like I didn't immediately tell people. You know, I let people learn who I was, see what I was doing. And then, you know, this is my past. You know, because oftentimes when you tell people right out of the gate, you're done. That relationship is over. And where do you go from there? You know, and I think it's cool that in the halfway house you got that going on
Yeah.
right now where they're learning the skills, because we're not thinking about, hey, I have to learn how to relate to my family again. Man, do you have to, because you've been relating to a bunch of dudes or a bunch of chicks
Watching
in
paint
the
dry,
joint, right?
you know?
And now you're going to have to relate to family, a day-to-day thing, not 15 cents an hour, you know,
Yeah.
$15 an hour. And you know what? The mortgage and rent and stuff is like 700 to 1,000.
Right.
Right? It's overwhelming.
It is. And one of my favorite classes that we teach is expectations versus agreements. And a lot of our people, you know, release, and they have this expectation that when I release, I'm going to be normal. And you're not.
Yeah.
And I'm teaching our guys, my partner Brian's teaching these guys resilience. And it's okay that you're not going to be normal.
Yeah.
And creating that resilience leads to that pathway of, all right, I'm going to develop agreements within myself, agreements that I'm going to navigate through this halfway house and these rules so that it benefits me and it's not going to cause this push-pull.
Yeah.
And I'm going to develop these agreements so that I can get myself in line so maybe I can connect to my family better.
Right.
And it's just a more realistic and practical approach with, you know, a splash of optimism and energy
Yeah.
that they need. So,
We're talking about it all the time on the show, Dr. Holt and I, about the traumas and having to deal with those traumas.
right.
You know, because the trauma didn't put you in prison. The trauma put you in a place that put you in a place that put you in prison.
Yeah.
You know, once we start dealing with the trauma, all of those things that people say were your problem, your addictions and all of those things, they start to fade away because they don't become necessary when you start to deal with the issue that put you in that place,
Right.
that made you feel less than, you know, that made people look down on you, made you believe that people were looking down on you. And to move forward from that and to be able to deal with those traumas is to move forward from that. And for us, we're spinning our wheels if we don't.
Yeah. Absolutely.
You know, and I'm constantly talking about, and I know you guys run into this all the time, habilitation versus rehabilitation. And what 40% of the population, federal and state, didn't have a high school diploma, right? And that was in like 2022 or something like that. That's crazy. Don't even have a high school diploma. So how do I rehabilitate somebody that's never been habilitated?
Right.
Doesn't have a skill level, you know, doesn't even know what their talents are. And you guys are pointing them to it.
They are, and there's nothing special that we really have. It's just really, we're like mirrors, and we just kind of flip the mirror on them, and we show them through these classes, you know, soft skills and work ethics, and we ask these questions. What is it about you that makes you a good worker? Well, I don't know. I've never worked. Well, didn't you work when you were on BOP? Let's talk about that. Okay, so why were you such a good worker? Okay, but you were working in BOP for how long? 4 years? 4 years. You did 4 years under BOP time and you were working? That's actually pretty awesome.
Yeah, it is.
Tell me how you kept that job for such a long time.
Right.
And what
Wow.
about you set you aside from the other people that couldn't keep a job? Let's talk about that. So it's asking the right questions.
Man, that's good though. That's good. Are you noticing why other people are failing, you know, and why you're successful?
Right.
You know, that's really good stuff.
Mm-hmm.
You know, you guys do job placement also?
We do.
Yeah. And what type of jobs?
It's a wider range of jobs, and so we have this website called Arizona Job Connection. All our clients are connected to that website, and they get their credentials, they log in, and it's a wide array of jobs. You can look it up, and based on your zip code, it populates the jobs that are available. So it can go from aviation to IT support to entry-level jobs, food service, landscape, groundskeeper. It's at your fingertips, and you can look it up and see who's background friendly. You know, our business service representative, Danny Howe, will download those jobs that are felon friendly, but we always encourage our clients to keep it open and apply to all those jobs anyway, because the worst that can happen is no, but you
Right.
don't know until you apply.
Right.
So-
And the jobs that are available is limitless, right?
It truly is.
And which is crazy because nobody wants to hire a felon, which is just not true.
It's not true.
You know, and I know that there's the bonding, the federal bonding thing that you can get for hiring an
Right.
ex-felon, and the tax
The
credit.
work opportunity tax credit.
Right,
Right.
but for hiring ex-felons, and that's wonderful too. But not many people know about it.
Yeah.
You know, so
Yeah.
the more employers we can let know, hey, you could get paid and have a tax credit, right?
Yeah.
And have a bonding for any losses that you may incur.
Exactly.
And I've said it before on this show, you're not going to incur those losses. There are good, talented people with a great heart coming out of prison every day. They
Right.
just want a chance.
Yeah.
And they don't want people picking at their past because they want a future.
Yeah.
Right?
And there's employers that would specifically hire, clients with backgrounds for the sake of the federal bonding and the work opportunity tax
Oh,
credit.
wow.
So, it's
Yeah,
nice.
I
It's
never
like-
looked at it
yeah.
that way, yeah.
Yeah. So, and it's been beneficial for both parties. So you just have to know where to go.
Right.
But-
You guys have assorted trainings also, right?
Yes.
And you teach several of them, but they teach some of them at the state level also, intern or anything like that?
Yes, we do have some internships. We have some trade work, life skills, food handlers
Wow.
in Phoenix. So, it's really at your fingertips, and you just have to ask for help. And if you don't know, visit an Arizona at Work office, and we will point you in that direction.
That's so cool. When
Mm-hmm.
I got out of prison, they didn't have Arizona at Work.
Yeah. Wow.
Yeah, I
Oh,
showed up. I
man.
showed up at Silver Lake with my banker box, and it was just nothing but sign these rules. Go find you a job.
Good luck.
Good luck. And they handed you this little thing that had like all these resources on it and stuff like that. And like when you started to call the numbers, they had never been vetted. So like they didn't even go to places, and it was just awful. And then no, we don't hire felons, and no, you can't live here with a felony on your record. And wow, it's just so beautiful that now you guys got like a Rolodex
Yeah.
of is it jobs in housing or just jobs?
As far as right now, I know of jobs, but we're in the process of getting a system together for housing, which is important.
I thought that was in the process. Yeah, and Danny runs houses, doesn't he?
He does.
He what are
does.
they called?
Gosh.
Darn it,
Danny, forgive
Danny,
me.
Sorry,
Danny, forgive me. Danny is amazing, though.
Yeah.
Danny is awesome. But-
Yeah,
Yeah.
wonderful story.
Yeah.
I heard his wife speak at the League of Women Voters breakfast a couple weeks ago, and just wonderful, man. And the breakfast was wonderful with all the people that were there for restorative justice, and Arizona at Work was there also.
Yeah.
But I work with Ray out at the state prison, and Ray is just, and he gives people my phone number all the time, which is, thanks, Ray. No, but I don't mind at all because the people, it's like, he has this like radar,
Uh-huh. Yeah.
and the people that they are sincere about wanting change in their life. And I think Ray has just this little radar that he can pick up on the people that really want it. And we see it, Ed, all the time at the orientation. The guys that are all folded up with the glasses on and all of that stuff. Okay, it's not your time. Maybe it's going to take another 18 months, 3 years or something. Because, why should it? Ask for the help. If Arizona at Work is at your unit, speak to somebody. They're at the state prison at Manzanita, Winchester.
Yeah, there's a few units that we're in Tucson, and we're also adult supervision as well. We're also at adult supervision.
Right,
APO.
at the PO.
Yeah.
Yeah, the
exactly.
ADCRR.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's
So,
very cool.
and on side note, Danny, please forgive me. So yes, his housing is the Ernest House
The Ernest House, that's it. And
LLC.
I think they
Yes,
got a couple of them,
yes,
right?
they do.
Yeah,
They have quite a
very
few
cool.
all over
The
the place.
Ernest House,
So,
Danny Howe.
had to make sure I corrected that. So,
Amen. And I would seriously be remiss if I didn't ask where the heart comes from, to do this type of work for this type of population.
the heart came from me overcoming my own trauma and my own struggles to start with, and I actually overcame addiction, and and that was about 7 years, and
Wow.
I've been sober since then.
Amen.
And because of that, I moved out of this place. I became a CO. I know,
Wow.
crazy,
Wow.
so crazy. I became a CO. I didn't think that I would become a CO, and I was like, well, I don't know about this. Treating people like numbers
Mm.
didn't sit right with me. It took my humanity away.
Wow. Wow, that's wow.
Truly. And so when I got back to Tucson, Arizona, I got into reentry, and I found purpose again.
Wow.
I got promoted quickly as an employment specialist, and I was on fire at this job. I was helping people get jobs. I had a newsletter, and I would post it outside my door, and it would have like this motivational speech on this newsletter, and it would have like hot little job leads, but it was my own little community at this halfway house, and I was
Yeah.
so inspired, but I wanted more. I wanted to do more,
Yeah.
and I'm doing more now because in my position, I'm not only serving the local community, but at the federal end, I'm serving nationally because these clients are releasing out
All
of
over the
state,
place, yeah.
all over the place. So
Yeah.
it's incredibly inspiring to see that they fill my cup too. My clients teach me also.
Yeah.
I'm not only teaching them.
Yeah.
I'm not a master.
Yeah.
I'm also a teacher.
Yeah.
And I'm a student. So we're feeding each other in that way. So
I'll tell you, it's truly one of the most impactful things I've ever seen was this video that Fritzy Horowitz, who's a trauma expert, she goes into the state prisons and federal prisons, and she runs this group, and she brings the prisoners out on the rec field, and she circles them up. In this one video, there's 150 of them, I think, they're out on the rec field, and she stands in the middle of the circle, and she does the ACE exam. And she asks the 10 questions from the ACE exam. And if you answer yes, you step toward the center. 150 inmates. By the time she gets to 10, most of them are in the center with her. Doesn't matter what color, what shape, what size any of those people are. They've experienced a lot of the same things and ended up where they ended up, right? So it wouldn't be right if it didn't,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
So, and to understand that
right.
is life-changing.
Yeah.
And it was. And speaking to the inmates afterwards, that there was an elderly black man, 75 years old. He said it was the best day of his entire life. To be opened up to learn these people are no different than me. They suffered the same things that I suffered, the acute childhood experiences of the ACE exam. I think there needs to be an adult ACE exam. You know what I mean? Because adults go through it too. You know, I mean, I know people have lost their jobs and haven't been able to come back from it since COVID.
Yeah.
Right? So the trauma hits in so many different ways, so many different spaces. But I'll tell you what, man, the job, I got a job that gave me pride, right?
Give you purpose.
Right. That gave me purpose.
It's powerful.
And having this and being able to have a voice and being given back a voice. That's what you're talking about.
Yeah.
You know?
It's powerful, and it's powerful to give people their own power back, even if they're still under the rules of other people. They still get their power back.
Yeah.
How
do you do that?
I do that by coaching them
Yeah.
daily, being available to answer their questions and guiding them, and setting aside those biases, and even within myself, being
Wow.
self-aware.
Yeah.
And we all have them.
I kind of discovered recently that I'm not what happened to me. I'm the person that survived it.
Right.
And being the person that survived it, I got skills, right?
Right.
I've got some experience on my side that I can move forward. And when I run over these bumps, which precipitory events that get to triggers, then I know what to do with that bump
Right.
before I get to a trigger, right? And man, the coaching that you do is just exactly that, isn't
Yeah.
it?
It is. And it's crazy to think that, 1,200 women and men released from prison, and we only get to serve 45% of them.
Wow.
Recidivism happens 3 years
Yeah.
after release. So, and when I teach classes, I'm not a script reader. And so I go a little off topic, and I always talk to them about your 3 domains in life, which is your professional, your social, and your personal.
Mm. Come
When
on.
your personal and your social domains affect you, your professional gets affected.
Mm.
So when my domains were being affected in my active addiction, couldn't keep job.
Right.
Going from job to job to job
Wow.
to job to job.
That's
Right.
really good.
And for some people, they would reflect on that and they would get discouraged and then they would go back into that criminal thinking. Well, if I can't get a job, easier to sell, easier to do this, easier to do that.
Yeah.
Right? And so we have to learn how to manage these domains too and find what nourishes us, what inspires us, and remove that what doesn't belong anymore.
That's super cool.
So that, you have some domain in your professional life that you can put money in your pocket. And I'm telling them, at the RRCs, yeah, okay, you might be working at McDonald's or scraping dirt and moving dirt around, but this is the job, this is the platform for the work history that leads you to that next job. This isn't the job you're retiring to.
That's good.
So don't go there with a mindset of like defeat already. Go in there
Right.
with the mindset or an energy that you want to be there, that you want to interview.
Yeah. That's
Right?
good stuff.
You guys aren't bubbly people, right? But at least like show up that you want to be there and answer these questions.
Yeah.
And that's powerful. And they're like, I didn't think of that. And I'm like, yeah.
Yeah. Drawing the strength.
Yeah.
Strength conditioning. Yeah. That's really cool. Wow. Thank you so much for coming to the show. We got a couple minutes left. What else do you want to tell us about Arizona at Work? And what do you want to tell us is going to draw people to ask the question, let me contact them?
Ironically, motivation and vulnerability leads to success.
Mm.
You have to be vulnerable. You have to be willing to ask for help. And when you're willing to ask for help, you become successful. And so pick up the phone, make that phone call, visit the office, and find someone that's going to open those doors for you. You
Is
know?
there a website?
Yeah, there's the Arizona at Work website, and there's our local offices. So we are everywhere. We're all over the place. We will help you.
And if, for all you guys inside that are listening to the show right now, there is availability for jobs. There's availability for training. There's availability for internships. The Work Innovation Opportunity Act. I mean, that's a $10,000 grant from anybody from a disenfranchised group. I mean, you can be whatever you want to be. Don't let your past dictate what your future is going to be. Okay, now listen, we got about a minute left. Thank you, Andrea, for coming on the show.
Yeah.
I want to remind everybody we got Market on the Move on April 12th. It's going to be 7 in the morning to 9 in the morning or until we run out first. That's going to be at Zion City South Campus at Mission in Ajo. Okay, May 17th is the tentative date for the Fresh Start Expo Clinic. And we're hoping to get the courts on board so we can get some flyers out and so everybody can sign up and participate. We'll have resources out there. We'll have jobs out there. We'll have behavioral health out there. And we'll have, as always, haircuts and clothes with DKA and Sports Clips and all of our partners that join us all the time to put on these events to make sure that our futures are the best futures that we can have, because mistakes shouldn't be life sentences. They should be life lessons. God bless you all. Have a good day. Fresh start.